Hello, Detroit. Or what up, though, right? How's everybody doing tonight? So thanks so much for coming tonight. My name is Sean Williams. I am the CEO of Detroit versus Everybody. And tonight we're going to be hearing from some very special guests. So first, I'd like to introduce my best friend since I was in kindergarten, my brother, business partner, and the founder of Detroit versus Everybody, Tommey Walker.
All right.
Former U.S. Associate Attorney General and the Vice President's brother-in-law, Tony West. And Terrance T.G. Grantham. So this is one of my frat brothers. Well, Tommy's actually one of my frat brothers too. So shout out.
Yo.
An influencer from right here in the city of Detroit. So we're here to have a conversation about the stakes of the election and Vice President Harris's opportunity economy agenda. And I hope you guys leave here energized and ready to go out and vote. On Tuesday, Tommey and I had the pleasure of introducing Vice President Harris to a crowd of fired up supporters at a watch party for a radio show, a radio town hall chat with Charlemagne the God. It was an epic event because someone said that was like the only place in the whole world where you could actually watch that chat. Everywhere else was like audio stream, so we were part of history. Craig Cafe. I'm sorry, I wasn't in charge of the invites. I'm sorry. So in that conversation, the VP laid out an opportunity agenda for black men. An agenda that will help provide the tools for black men to achieve financial freedom, lower costs, and protect our rights. Today we're continuing to work with this fireside chat to dig deeper in economic policies proposed by the VP. We'll talk about how they will help black business owners, families, and Michiganders alike. After Donald Trump trashed Detroit, which Detroit versus Everybody, while he was here last week, he decided to double down on Tuesday with the attacks on our city. He's out of touch with our city, and he's made it clear that he doesn't care about us. But we're here tonight to focus on these issues. That's what this election is all about, and we need to stay focused. Voting is already underway in Michigan. Early voting in Detroit starts this Saturday. VP Harris will be back in the state tomorrow, and she'll be here on Saturday to kick off the early voting in the city. We have 19 days to get this done and elect Kamala Harris as our next president. We don't have time to waste, so let's get this conversation started. Detroit, please welcome T.G. Grantham, Tony West, and Tommey Walker.
Thanks, Sean.
All right, well, why don't we get started here? First, thank you all for coming tonight. Appreciate your being here. It is good to be with you all. And, I want to make sure I say, the Vice President is committed to this city and committed to Michigan. The last stop that she made when they were running in 2020 as Vice President, the last campaign stop they made that election year was here in Detroit. So she'll be here, as Sean said, on Saturday. I know she'll be here again, and she feels a kindred spirit, as she said, at that event with this city. And as Sean also noted, we know how the other side feels about Detroit, because he came here to your house and told you what he thought, and talked about how if my sister-in-law gets elected president, then the rest of the country will end up like Detroit. Well, like that commercial says, we should be so lucky, because when I look at Detroit, I see heart, I see commitment, I see perseverance, I see grit, I see dedication, I see love. And if that is what it means to take some of that to the rest of this country, then we should be so lucky. So it is good to be here with you tonight in Detroit. And good to be here with you, Tommey. Let me ask you a little bit about this brand, Detroit versus everybody. I want to know a little bit about the background, how it came to be, the story, and then how it turned around. Yeah, this is your daddy. Yeah, that's right. And how it came to be that you got connected up with the vice president and the Harris-Walz campaign.
All right, no problem. So let's go back a little bit to 2012. Now, in 2012, it was like the tail end of the Kwame Kilpatrick situation. It's a dark part of Detroit's past, and I don't like to talk about it a lot, but it's a part of the origin story of the city of Detroit. Of the Detroit versus everybody. Anyway, so by trade, I'm a graphic designer. I'm an art director. And around that time, I was very heavy in the music industry, and I had a business trip to California in 2012. And when I got off the plane, first person that I saw on a billboard was Eminem. Right, and I'm just setting the stage. I see Eminem, which is normal. Eminem's a superstar, right, from Detroit. Then I get to my hotel and I turn on the television and I see our then mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick. Now, as I said, this was the tail end of the situation. It was normal to see that as headlines in Detroit, but for some reason, this trip, hopping on the plane, going 2,200 miles across the country, seeing our then mayor on the television screen as headline news, I love you, was really amazing to me, and it woke me up to the importance of the city of Detroit, Detroit's culture. Now, I came back home and I get back into the groove of everything. During that period of time, Sean and I had purchased a failing screen printing company, right? And we were like becoming Rhodes Scholars in the business of printing. And we had our ups and downs. We find out that, manufacturing is a very expensive business. We had to like close down. And we were just spinning our wheels trying to figure out like how we can get this going. One of my mentors said, "Hey man, you have a printing press in your possession. There's no reason for you to be having any struggles. Figure it out." So I remember driving down Jefferson, and I was thinking to myself, like, why is it that all of the press about Detroit is negative? Why is it that with all of the positive things that's going on in Detroit, why is it that they're not being promoted? They're not being marketed, just like us being the murder capital, that period of time. They love saying that, but why is it that this creative outbreak that was going on and is being credited now to the city of Detroit, but had already been going on for 5-10 years for those that were in the know during that time, why is it that isn't being promoted? And a chip began to form on my shoulder. It's like, this really isn't fair. It seems as if they're purposely not telling the truth about the city of Detroit. And I would have conversations with peers, and they would feel the same way. And it's like it seems like people are going out of their way to deny Detroit the respect that we deserve. So I was like, what can I do at that time to try to change the narrative? And I branded Big Sean, I branded Dej Love, I branded Mike Posner. I worked on Eminem's project with Rihanna. I worked on like Cody Simpson, Jessica Simpson, Yellow Wolf during that, Wale during that time, all the artists. So I had a lot of support, and we were getting a lot of attention. So I'm like, how can I use my platform to switch this narrative to what the real narrative is? I remember I was driving down Jefferson to my apartment, and it was just like Detroit versus everybody. That's what it is, Detroit versus everybody. So I, at the time, I had that apartment. I got rid of that. My mentor told me, he said, "Hey, get a loft. Live in that loft with that machine. Don't even worry about a couch. Don't worry about a bed. right? Just get in there with that machine and you'll figure it out. So did just that and went home off of that ride, went home, mocked it up. It took about 2 weeks for me to mock it up. And then that night, one of my friends who was a rapper was over. We were just kicking it. And I made the mock. He was like, man, let me take this sample and go perform in it. I said, sure. About 4 hours later, he calls me like, man, they took it from me, man. Like, I'm out here shirtless, bro. Like they took my shirt. And he was like, but it's also this guy who wants me to give you his number, who wants me to give him your number so that he can get a shirt. I said, that's fine. Then the next morning, the guy called, and that was the first time I went. We were in the Hudson Lofts on 4th Street in Jefferson, 4th Street over there in Rosa Parks area. And that was the first time we went from, we were actually in Loft 313 too. But that was the first time I went from the loft and took the first shirt downstairs. I still remember, he was on a motorcycle. And I gave him the shirt, went upstairs, go downstairs. He said the same thing, like, hey, do you mind if I give somebody your number to call? I said, yeah, give my number. And then ever since then, it was a snowball effect of people calling me to get this shirt, get this t-shirt. We were only still doing t-shirts at the time. So 3 months down the line, we're still running up, and we didn't even have to go to the gym because it's like we're just running up and down these steps all day, serving these people these shirts. It was a workout in itself. And then we would have lines and stuff, and the owners of the building asking us what's going on and stuff. So it became unsafe. We were talking about 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I'm leaving the club, can I come get a hat, come get a shirt? So we started to feel unsafe, and because everybody knew where we were. So and we were making money because what I'm saying. So initially, like, we got to get out of here. So we got our first store in 400 Monroe building. Christos owns the store, the building, 400 Monroe, another one of our mentors who believed in us very early on. And worked out a deal, got our first store, and that store, it kept on compounding to where at our height, before COVID, we had 7 store locations. It's just been a ride the entire time that I'm just grateful, feel blessed for, and just really want to, do right by the city.
I love that.
And we're still going, still here,
That's
like still
right.
about to say.
That's right. I love that because, first of all, it talks about a brand, something she came up with that you were coming up with, somewhat out of frustration, trying to understand, why is the city always getting such a bad rap? But in coming up with that brand, you tapped into something really deep that is felt by a lot of people, whether they're from Detroit or not, which is why I'm going to take home one of them sweatshirts.
You got it. You got it.
No, but the other thing about your story is it is the quintessential entrepreneurial story, right, of a small business that has an idea and someone who believes in themselves and in the power of that idea to bring it into fruition. And one of the things the Vice President has rolled out this week is something called an Opportunity Agenda for Black Men. Now, it builds on plans and policy that she's already put forward to invest in small businesses, in small business creation. She wants to create 25 million new small businesses in her first term. But this one was particularly targeted at black men, things like forgivable loans for black entrepreneurs to be able to have access to capital, which we know is one of the biggest impediments to small businesses being created and scaling. So maybe you could talk a little bit, there are a number of things in that opportunity agenda, but perhaps you could talk a little bit about when you think about that opportunity agenda, what stands out to you and what you think can make the biggest difference for entrepreneurs here in Detroit.
Well, what sticks out to me is the assistance with funds. If in business, the word cash flow is just like the word. You know what I mean? And it's like we have been, many times if we've been in a situation to where we needed to make moves, and if we just had that extra 20,000, that extra 30,000, that extra 50,000, you know, it would have made things not only easier. And I'm not going to say that. I'm grateful for the journey, because you make it happen with what you have. Don't let what you don't have stop you from, you know, doing what you can, what you have, you know. But at the end of the day, that assistance would always help, you know. We've always been able to do what we needed to do, but we haven't always been able to do what we wanted to do, you know. And a lot of times, those things that we want to do could be the thing that separates you, you know, like just those little bells and whistles, the things that you have experienced out in the world that you were like, this would have been better if we could have did this, you know, or, you know, that they made that mistake. I want to do it better, you know, and things cost. So I feel like to you know, the influx of cash, it sounds beautiful to me, you know, and it took us a while to understand that, because, you know, with us being so, you know, I mean, Sean and I, it's like, we have the attitude of, we're gonna get it done, you know what I'm saying, like, whatever it takes. That's why I'm so appreciative to have a brother and partner like Sean, because we always say to each other, like, man, like, I'm doing this for you. Like, I'm trying to impress you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, in order to do that, the funds will really, you know, I can see it helping out all business owners for sure.
Yeah, absolutely great. TG?
Cash flow. That's the word of the night, cash flow.
That's the word of the century.
Which kind of leads into the next question. One of our vice presidents, one of the big points is the forgivable $20,000, up to $20,000 for black entrepreneurs for resources and access to capital. And it builds on her plan to help more small businesses grow and innovate. How would you say that these efforts would help and allow black entrepreneurs to really thrive, and maybe even kind of not have to walk through that mud that Detroit works everybody walked through?
Well, I would say, you know, taxes get real when you start making money. And it's like, when, you know, you're happy to make money. A lot of us in our position we're the first ones in the generation, in our family line, that just making it happen for the family. So it's like, you spend so much time hustling and trying to make it happen, actually make it happen, and then it really is a gut punch. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's a gut punch. Like, I gotta give you this, you know. But it's like, everybody has to do it. My father was an accountant, so Sean and I had like a understanding early on, like, this money ain't ours, you know. But if we could have, but I can only imagine how it being forgivable would allow a lot of business owners to make mistakes. You see what I'm saying? Because it looks good, but a lot of entrepreneurship is just making mistakes, you know, and then learning from it, from yours or others. But I can see that being a big help with for most business owners, because the money that you make with yours, it can be put back into the business so that you can make more business, so that you can eventually pay your taxes. You know what I'm saying? But it for sure would allow some space. It would allow, you know, it would make it more play. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like we're playing. You know, like it's playing. We're having a ball while we're making real life change. But just to not have that down to the penny, what you owe, just hovering over you, just knowing, like, I could make a little mistake, I could do this here. I feel like that would make the entire experience of entrepreneurship a tad bit more pleasing.
No,
because it's hard.
Yeah, and I don't know, Tommey, because it's like you read my questions already, so I'm trying to make this next question not sound like you just answered it already. But, you know, in that opportunity, she's kind of turning that 5,000 into 50,000 for the small business tax credit.
Right.
Now, if we go back to 2012, what does that look like for you and Sean and Detroit versus everybody, knowing that, okay, we got a $50,000 tax credit. Maybe I don't have to live in the loft with the press right now. I can, go back and forth. What changes for DVE at that time if that happens?
The quality of our gear changes. The quality of everything changes. You have the ability to actually put your taste level into your product. It's like the crossroads of like your creative vision and then the money that you have to create that creative vision. When it comes to a crossroads, it's like money wins. So you gotta just figure out a way to make it happen. It might not always be exactly what you wanted, and that actually is major because your product is a reflection of you. But yeah, that 50K is like, it would have changed the trajectory of the brand. Like we 12 years in and we've done some amazing things and we're still doing, but that for sure would have been a cushion in which we could have done exactly what we wanted. You know what I'm saying? Even like cause it costs money from marketing, commercials to manufacturing to social. It's just everybody has to be paid, and we really didn't have any help. We actually took our money and put it into each thing paid for the next thing. You know what I'm saying? But to have money that was there for us to use, and it would have been amazing. So that truly excites me. It really excites me for the future entrepreneurs and present entrepreneurs.
Yeah, no, something you said, Tommey, about, being the first ones to actually start making money, kind of building this business. I was down in, I think it was in Macon, Georgia, talking to a small business entrepreneur, and she introduced me to a term I had never heard before, which is wealth spreading. Have y'all ever heard of that term, wealth spreading? No. So what she was saying is, she was saying, it's, when you look at black entrepreneurs and black small businesses, and often it is the first one. So you're the first one in the family who's starting to make any kind of money. For us, we feel a responsibility not just to be successful, but we want to bring our family with us, right? So we will take whatever wealth that we are beginning to accumulate, and we'll make sure that, listen, we're taking care of the sisters and the brothers, and we're taking care of, the cousins, and because my mother got to make sure you take care of your mom, right? And you begin to take care of the family. What that does, though, is it makes it difficult, she was saying, and I think she's absolutely right because I know this experience, to essentially build enough wealth at a critical mass where you're now building intergenerational wealth, right? And I thought that was such an interesting idea because when I think about the Vice President's policy agenda, it is one that actually sees black entrepreneurs not simply as business people, but people who are in a context in which they're taking care of aging parents. They're taking care of raising young families. They're wearing, hats where they're trying to make sure they're contributing not only to the well-being of their families, but their communities. And so she has policies that speak to those different hats that you're wearing, right? And that other entrepreneurs are wearing. And so, for instance, she's one of the things that she's very proud of is having worked over the last couple of years to cap the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, right? And she wants to expand that to everyone now. And when you think about, who in this country disproportionately suffers from diabetes, you know what that means for our community, right? She's talked about how proud she is that she was able to, with the president, cut the child poverty rate for black families in half, right? And that's why she wants to extend this child tax credit so that we can continue to keep black children from falling into poverty. Because again, that's part of the context in which all of these black entrepreneurs live in. And so I wanted to ask you, as you think about the Vice President's record, particularly for black Americans, is there anything that inspires confidence in you as someone who's a Michigander, as somebody who's from Detroit, that she is going to continue this commitment to work for black families?
Yes, the word inspire, like when I read through the policy, this one line popped out at me, and that was the fact that she would create situations in which black entrepreneurs could take care of their parents into retirement. And that really struck a chord with me because, you know, being a black man in society, you know, you want to take care of your parents. You know, like when you're 13, you're thinking about, man, I want to do this, get my mama this, I want to do this, get my dad this, and you pretty much, that's on your shoulders, that's on your own, you know. But when you add in health, mental wellness, it's like it gets a little bit deeper, you know. And then, you know, my mother's, you know, she's like 78. She's, you know, getting older, and it just really makes me feel good to think that the Vice President cares. You know what I'm saying, about my real life worries. You know what I mean? Like my real life thoughts, what I really want to do for my mother. So it's like that really made me feel good, made me feel warm inside. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like I'm alone out here. You know?
Yeah. No, that's true. So let's just switch gears a little bit, and we already talked a little bit. Sean talked about it. I talked about it at the top a little bit about. We know how, you know, the Vice President feels about you and feels about us. We also know how Donald Trump feels about Detroit. How does Detroit feel about Donald Trump?
There you go, right there. But yeah, it is Detroit versus everybody. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, for him to be in Detroit and say those statements was crazy. You know what I mean? Like, that was crazy. And we were already participating, you know, but for him, he actually, with those statements, made it Detroit versus everybody. You know what I mean? And it's also Detroit versus Trump. You know what I'm saying? Like, he made it that way. So, you know, Detroit versus everybody is the sentiments that Detroit carries, and it's been 12 years, and today with that he restarted it. You know, just directed towards him.
Speaking of him, you know, we could say that he failed the black community during his presidential tenure. And the Project 2025 agenda would be a disaster, from raising costs on the average black family by nearly $4,000 a year to gutting affordable health care coverage, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, and more. So how can people with large platforms like you get the word out about how his extreme Project 2025 agenda would be devastating for black communities?
I think we're doing it now. You know, those who have platforms actually use them to speak. I just answered earlier, I said that another way is that every individual could, on November 5th, you know, just call 2 or 3 people and tell them, hey, you're about to go get some lunch, you know, and drive them to the polls. You know what I'm saying? That'll get a spike for sure. But yeah, just using your platform to speak out and show, you know, individually their feelings. You can't make anyone do anything, but if you show them how it benefits them, they may take action.
So look, early voting starts in Detroit this Saturday. As we know, the Vice President's going to be here on Saturday to encourage folks to vote, cast their ballots early. You just gave us probably the best idea I've heard to get people to the polls.
Gonna trick them.
I like it. I like it. You know, anything else we can do to make sure we have, you know, we make our voices heard between now and November 5th, because we can vote early.
Use your voice. You know, like that's the main thing. Like I guess, you know, that has to be taught too. Like my daughter is like, you know what I'm saying, tell her, like, look, use your voice. You know, your voice can make a difference. And you know, if we use our voices all, then it makes a louder noise.
I love that. I think that's a great place to end, because, you know, this election does have a lot that concerns all of us in this room. But at the end of the day, it is about your daughter.
That's what it's about. It's about you, baby.
That's right.
Detroit, can y'all give a round of applause for Mr. Tommey Walker?
Thank you.
Detroit's own.
Detroit versus everybody.
Also, Tony West. Y'all give a round of applause for our guest this evening. As he so diligently put it, the brother-in-law of our future president. That's all we got for y'all, man. We hope y'all got something from this. I don't know if the bar is closing or if the buffet is over, but I'm not telling y'all gotta go. So as long as we rocking and rolling, you know, shake some hands, meet some people, we gonna kick it for a little bit. I know you gotta get out of here, so I'm gonna make sure we get you, and I think we got something for you, but we're gonna get you out here. Everybody, y'all have a good night. Thank you once again. I'm TG. Y'all be good. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Love it.